Welcome back to your Grant Readiness Foundation. We are on session 113, step 8, creating and preparing a solid budget. Creating and preparing a solid budget. And I'm going to show you something a little bit comprehensive. It does not have to be this comprehensive, but it's going to give you an idea of what to expect, especially when you're getting into those more comprehensive grants and responses. You will need to do something similar to what I'm showing you. Most smaller grants that are micro grants, $5,000, $10,000, you may not have to do any budget, or they may provide you with a one-sheet template for you to kind of jot down or put in what your budget numbers, anticipated numbers are in terms of the use of funds for that funding. So otherwise, you want to create a solid budget. And I would recommend that you create a solid budget for your business anyway, so you have it. So that's different than creating an income statement, projections, your budget. It is how you're spending your company's money to do what? To create revenue, to bring in revenue, whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit. But you have a responsibility on spending those resources wisely and smart. You want to have a solid and well thought out budget, no guesswork. If there's guesswork, plus or minus, very modest on those numbers. And what are you using the grant funds for? What are you using those funds for? So I am going to show you a budget, my business budget that I put together for you, where I use this actually from a real budget, and to give you an idea of what a budget would look like, especially also if you're going after multiple grants. You're going to want to have columns that show which grants. In this case, I put grant 1, grant 2, grant 3. These were actual grants that were awarded. And so I took those out just to keep the privacy of the actual grants. But this is what a more comprehensive budget would look like. And this is still modest compared to what it could look like. I have something even more comprehensive than this. But what you're seeing is your personnel. So you've got your C-level personnel, that would be you. And then you have your employees that may be taking up some role within your organization. And in this case, the executive director is not being paid out of any of the grant funding. They are being paid from a different source of capital, and which is not any of these grant fundings. And that's okay. We list them because they are the overseer of this particular organization. And then you have someone who's running the department program, and then you have, in this case, an entrepreneur director. And so there's different allocations for salary, the percentage of funding that's coming out of the different grants. So out of grant 1, they're getting 10% of their pay from that grant. The other 90% is coming from somewhere else. It's coming from some other pot of money within that large organization. So as small businesses, small nonprofits, you may or may not have those different departments. Actually, a small business could be as big as 499 employees. So that's quite big. And so you would have many departments, and as well as a nonprofit. But just to illustrate how a budget can look, what you might be thinking about in creating a budget, it can be very simplistic as well. In this case, again, I wanted to show you something more comprehensive to put a bigger vision in your mind on. You could be awarded multiple grants, and that's a good problem to have. And so you have the total amount of funding that's been allocated, and then how everyone's getting paid through those different funding amount. If you see 0%, they're not getting paid out of any of the funding that would come out of those grants. Then what happens after that? What else do you have? You can have Maybe you're bringing in contractors, professional experts. You can have funding for that. Now here at the top, you see that there's codes. So you can have department codes for each department. So as your organization grows, you are keeping track of where the money is being spent. Here's the allocation amount again, and then the actual awards of the grants and the totals. Now, if you look here in the last column, if there were money left over, say there was not enough money to fund the entrepreneur director, let me just take that out. You see how the balance over here shows that balance is, this is what's remaining. If they're going to get their full pay for the year, they need to have that amount of money. So we're going to put back in 25,473, and then you can see that returns to 0. And then the total amounts in each column, that there's being resources allocated from those grants to pay employees. So the great thing is that you can use grants to pay your payroll, to include yourself. Now, it could be multiple grants. So if you're going after bigger grants, that grantor doesn't have to carry the full weight. Maybe you then will go after 2 other grants to make that happen, or to bring other team members in to continue to do the work that you're doing within your business as well. So then you have benefits. And then what does that look like? And so maybe you're bringing on, maybe you like working with interns and you bring them college students in, and they can have a line item there that you want to pay them. Staff, professional experts that you may be paying here as well. These are benefits though. So these benefits are really half of what your total amount that you're paying here being allocated. So they're getting 50%, which is pretty good. Most small businesses are paying about 30% in businesses. In this case, they're paying 50% in businesses. So they're making their full amount plus getting 50% of benefits. Here, what you're seeing is all of these other things that you could be spending in your business. Maybe you have events, or you have customers or clients that you entertain, and so that could come out of hospitality spending. Maybe you're traveling, conferences, rent, support systems, postage, advertising, magazines, printing. So all of the other things that are operational costs and administrative costs and such can go in these categories you can put. And then you'll see what grants are supporting those costs, like the computer equipment, which is a hefty cost. All of this is grant funding. Now, this happens to be a nonprofit, so in terms of this organization. But keep in mind that even as a for-profit, you can stack up grants that you get. So maybe you end up getting $50,000 in grants, $100,000, and you need to get equipment, or you need to get new vehicles. Amazing what grant funding can do for you. And then, of course, you have indirect costs. That can be kind of tricky if you're not familiar with indirect costs, but these are a percentage of what you might be spending that they'll give you up to a certain percentage that you can utilize for like bookkeeping or other services. So for example, if you're an organization and the bookkeeper is working with all of the different departments and it's more work for them to facilitate the bookkeeping of that grant, then you could pay them another 3% or some number, whatever that grantor says you could pay up to indirect costs, and they're not going to micromanage that number. They're just going to have that within the number of what you are, whatever that grant is that you can spend. So if you have questions about indirect, again, it could be kind of tricky. You can do a little bit of research on that, or you can certainly go to our Ask Us and we will help you through that as well. So that's the basic budget. A little comprehensive. I've seen more comprehensive. I've worked with more comprehensive budgets. I've worked with simpler budgets, like you might see a budget. If you look at some of the Excel budgets, you'll see some very simplistic budgets there, and that can help you kind of frame everything if you're going after those micro grants. But in any case, I would certainly recommend that you do a budget for your business at some point. Okay, this is Margaret Jackson, founder and CEO of Small Business Concierge and Radio Show Personality for AM 1220 KDOW. Be sure to listen to the show sometime and keep moving forward. We want to support your next level, so make sure you tune in.